Oh, by the way, Mike, he's you see the shirt he's got on? Camp
Oh, here
Crystal
we
Lake.
go. Well, well, it was nice talking to you guys. I'll see you later.
Are you not a fan?
Oh no, I am. I just like giving this guy a hard time. Michael's
See,
my
we
guy.
we kind of started we kind of started this podcast because he's a big Michael Myers guy and I'm a Jason guy, and like we would argue on
Oh,
Twitter
yeah.
all the time. So we just eventually decided let's do a podcast.
I waver between the two, so this is not an allegiance thing. I just went
We
as a
lo-
camp counselor one Halloween.
Fair enough. Oh well, see, then you combine the two. That's good stuff.
Me
There you
and
go.
Mike love both of them. We just like to argue for attention.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's jump into it.
All right,
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. I just want to thank all our fans and listeners. We really appreciate all the support. We're really excited about the guests we have on today. We are joined today by another relative newcomer to the business, but since 2008 has racked up over 30-plus credits to his name, including You, Me, Her, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, and most recently, Supernatural. Adam Beauchesne, thank you for joining us today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. Hey, man, we really appreciate you giving us your time. And we've already kind of been talking for a little bit, but we like to kick off all of our interviews by just asking, what got you into acting, man?
Yeah, I started super young. I was probably 8 or 9, and I just signed up for a class, like a drama camp type thing, and it was just I just loved it. And so I ended up, the teacher kind of recommended me to my parents that I start taking private lessons in speech, kind of like you'd take piano lessons or something as a kid. And so I did that for 8 years, and I got this like associate diploma while I was in school in speech, and then I went right into a degree, kind of focusing on theater. Like I was kind of just gearing everything toward theater. And then the summer I graduated, I ended up getting this audition for Tucker and Dale, and that's actually what steered my career out to Vancouver. So it totally changed my life. So I'm always happy to chat about that movie because it sticks with me.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Absolutely, man.
We just got done reviewing that movie, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, on our show. Like you said, you got that role fairly early out of school. Can you just talk a little bit about that and the audition process?
Yeah, it was wild. So I'm from Alberta originally, up in Canada, and they do a thing there when you graduate from a post-secondary institution with in like an arts degree, you do a thing called a merge, and it's these 2 big auditions for pretty much in like the 2 major cities in Alberta. You audition for all the casting directors and all the agents and artistic directors for theater companies. Again, it's kind of theater centric, but there happened to be a casting director there. Or an agent, I should say, who happened to be looking for like college age kids because they knew this movie was shooting in Calgary. And Calgary doesn't get many films. That's like, once every few years a movie shoots there. So it literally was just like this perfect storm of everything lining up. And I kind of looked like a stoner, so they needed this stoner character. And actually, I originally auditioned to play Chuck, who's the character who shoots himself in the face. So I drove up to Calgary. I live about 2 hours away from the city, but I was like, yeah, I didn't even meet the agent. He called me and he's like, are you curious about maybe doing some film stuff? And I'd never done any film stuff. So I was like, yes, let's do it. So he sent me up there and so nervous, but I did it and then drove back down 2 hours. And then I got the call on my way down that they wanted a call back the next day. So I drove back up 2 hours and they had me read for 2 characters. So I read for Mitch, who's the character I ended up playing, as well as for Chuck. And met the director, and director Sally Field's son. I remember learning that right before I went in and kind of lost my mind about it. I was just, incredibly nervous. And then I got it about a week later, found out I got it. And it was just like, it was like everything. I'm a huge horror movie fan. We were talking about this earlier. So it just was like hard to believe it was happening. And I think at the time too, I didn't realize what a big deal it was. Now in retrospect, I realize like, all those things, right? Movies never shoot in Calgary, and I had no interest in film, no experience in film, no resume. I had a headshot, that was about it. So for all those things to align and end up in the right place at the right time and meet the right people, and in that summer, right after we shot the movie, pretty much, I decided to move out to Vancouver, to the coast. And the casting director for that movie, who's from Vancouver, kind of helped set me up here a little bit, and I got an agent out here, and yeah, it just kind of like totally has changed the trajectory of the last 12 years of my life. It's kind of wild.
Well, I just want to tell you, you officially knocked me off the pedestal of having the smoothest sounding voice that's ever been on this show. Holy smokes. I don't know if it's your mic or wherever, but man.
Thanks, man. I'm in my whisper room. I do voiceover as kind of my like day job. Thank God, because COVID, this I
Right.
can do during COVID. I don't got to go anywhere. So
That's
yeah.
right. That's a good point. So talk to us a little bit about your death scene in particular. Yours was so good because it was out of nowhere, impaled by a tree. Talk to us a little bit about that process, what shooting that is like, how that, what goes into all of that.
Yeah, I was choked at first when I didn't get Chuck originally because I was like, well, he's in the movie much longer than Mitch is. But to get the first death is pretty rad. And that death scene now is kind of, besides the wood chipper, which is like arguably the best death in that movie, it's a pretty cool one. So we shot for, I think it was 2 days with Alan Tudyk and I running through the woods. And my biggest memory, I was so intimidated by that guy as soon as I really connected who he was and all the stuff I knew him from. I was super intimidated. And it was just he and I for a couple days. I'd never done stunts before. I'd never been on set before, right? So this is all brand new. And I remember after about 4 takes of us running side by side in the woods, he pulled me aside and he's like, "You can't run like you'd normally run." He's like, "This isn't real life, right? Don't run like I'm actually a person with a chainsaw. It's a movie. Go slower because I can't catch you." And I was like, okay. Like, and he was being very kind about it. But it was just this note of like, I can't. The joke in this is I pass you, and I can't pass you if you're this lanky college guy sprinting through the woods, and I'm holding a chainsaw. So yeah, that was embarrassing. But I remember too the other story from that day was I was supposed to have a stunt double. Like on the casting list every day leading up to the stunt was I was supposed to have a double who would do the rig and everything. And then the day of, I noticed that the trailer next to mine, where it was supposed to be my stunt double, the tape was ripped off. There's nothing there. And I'm like, huh. Get to set, and they're like, "So are you comfortable doing a stunt?" I'm like, yeah, I guess. So they rigged me up to this thing, and essentially it was just like a big harness, and they tethered it to a tree, and I ran full tilt through the forest for one of the shots, and it just stopped me dead in my tracks. The trick was the rope had a slight springiness to it, so every time I do it, you'd like recoil a little bit, which looked terrible. So it just took a few takes, and then the actual kind of rig of it was this C-clamp, and I spent a full day in that, and I made the mistake of being in a slight squat, so I had to hold this like squatted position for hours and hours, covered in fake blood, and but at the time I was like, again,
yeah,
they could have done anything to me, and I would have been like, yes, great, and I get paid,
right?
So it was pretty awesome. It was again today. I've been doing it now for 12 years, and to date, it was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had on set.
Hey,
a little
before
bonus.
You go, Mike.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, man, like you said, the wood chipper probably is the coolest kill in that movie, but your kill is funny and awesome too. Just watching you, run away from a quote unquote Leatherface, tribute to Leatherface. That scene is really cool and awesome. I love that scene.
Yeah, he's outstanding in it too.
Oh, absolutely. And that was kind of my a little bit of my bonus follow up was you said you mentioned you're a big fan of the horror genre. Obviously, we are too. When you get this role, do you get the film, and is that something that like it's a horror comedy? It's almost not a satire, but kind of like a Scream meta type movie when it comes to that. How cool is that for you as a big time horror genre fan?
Oh, it was incredible. Like that's the thing too, is I wish I had more of an appreciation for how lucky I was at the time. I knew, but it was like in retrospect, I'm like, good, I had no business being on that set. and with that script, because you're right, it's like of all the movies to get, not only was it a horror movie, but it's a like referential horror movie that touches on so many other genres that I know and love, and I get to play this character essentially straight out of a Friday the 13th movie. Absolutely. And die first, and like play up all these tropes. But I actually think like part of what makes the movie really good too is there's like so much unlike other kind of parody movies, the acting is still pretty grounded in truth. Not the college students so much, but like there's a lot of heart in the movie too, right? So
absolutely,
none of us were overplaying that too much. Chad, the kind of like main douchey frat guy, has to be this kind of a bit of a stereotype of himself, but the rest of us, I feel like it was we're just kind of playing ourselves. Thank God too, because again, if at that point in my career, if they were asking me to play a big character, I don't know how that would have gone, but to play like a kind of stoner kid, yeah.
Do you have any we can kind of wrap it up here. Do you have any other memories on set of that movie?
Yeah. So getting to meet Alan Tudyk was a huge thing. I recognized him immediately, but it did take like at the table read that we did of the initial script, me like Googling his name on a break to really figure out all the stuff I knew him from.
Right.
But we had like, again, 2 days on set where it was just kind of us and got to like have dinner together. And he's just like an amazing guy. He's super funny and down to earth, and he knows his craft really well. And he's one of those people that like, he's had an incredible career, but it's amazing he's not as much of a household name as he probably deserves to be. Although people watching this and people who are fans of the movie probably know him very well, so I don't know who I'm talking to there. But memories of the show, though. So I have a YouTube channel. I started a YouTube channel as a university that reviews. Do you guys know the show Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, so I review old episodes of that, and kind of like I'm just shitty about the actors and stuff. It's in retrospect, it's a mean thing to do, but I just kind of parody the show and review the episodes. And I got on the show and like. That was a Canadian show when it was filming in the 90s, early 90s. And so every actor was on it. So like half the cast of Tucker and Dale have been in Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes. So I was immediately like, oh God. I hope they don't find these things. I went through and made sure I didn't say anything too terrible about any of them. And the other memory was, so the night we went, the skinny dipping scene, they called all of the college kids. But then very quickly we realized, I think there were 7 of us. They called 4 of them to go do the skinny dipping scene, and the rest of us got to stay in our trailers. And we pieced together, we're like, oh, I see the common denominator here. They've grabbed the like hard bodies to haul them out to the water. But like they shot in a lake in Canada. It was the summer, but like that had to have been a terrible experience.
I'm sure.
And meanwhile, of the 3 of us that got to stay behind, one of him brought a Nintendo, and we just played that in his trailer. And it was a night shoot. Wasn't even used once the entire night. So I was there for I think 12 hours, just napping and eating and playing Nintendo. And again, as someone who had no idea what being on a set was like, I was like, how am I getting paid to do this?
I was getting paid playing Nintendo. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was rad.
Go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, I actually read that like that lake was still really cold. Like it was frozen over like recently before that. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I read that it was cold still. So yeah, I don't really blame you for not really missing out on jumping in a cold lake.
No, I know. And again, at the time, I was like I wanted to be Chuck originally, because I was just like, every chance I can get to be here longer and, you know, soak more of this in. But I was like, yeah, no, that's you guys go do that. That's all right. I'm not going to pretend I look good with my shirt off.
Well, and to be fair, your scene is way cooler than just shooting yourself in the face with a gun. Just my opinion.
Kind of lucked out with that one.
No hate to the guy who played Chuck, but your
and
it's
a funny moment. He's also much better suited to that character in retrospect too, I think.
And we're gonna move on from Tucker and Dale, but I do want to thank you and Philip for commenting on our little Instagram post.
Yeah, that was great.
I just thought it was really cool that y'all still, you know, like you said, over a decade later, you both still just said how great of an experience this was on set and how much fun y'all had. I thought that was really awesome to read.
Yes, I love it, man. This movie, I think, will probably follow me for the rest of my life, and I am like fine with that. If this is the pinnacle of my career, it's pretty rad, and it's cool that it happened that early. And a lot of people never get the chance to do that. So I'm so happy people still watch it and still find it. I know it was on Netflix for like a full 10 years, and I don't think it's there anymore, but like, it's pretty amazing. I get messages from it all the time, and anytime stuff's posted that we're tagged in, I'll try and chime in. If only it's an ego boost, but like I genuinely really appreciate that people watch it and recognize it, and it's still kind of finding its legs. There's still people who have no idea what it is. So,
well, as fans of the movie and of the, you know, we do the show, we appreciate that the actors will comment and, you know, are appreciative that people like the movie, because not all actors are the nicest people. But we'll move on from that
firsthand.
I'm sure you have way worse stories than we do.
Oh yeah.
Well, Adam, you've had some guest spots on some pretty well-known shows like Psych, Fringe, and a fun little spot on iZombie. Can you talk a little bit about your experience on those shows?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those were just kind of like day player, a couple days on set kind of things, which is always interesting because you're dropping into an environment with a core cast that have maybe been together for years and years, right? I mean, Supernatural, I was on the 15th season of, I think, so those guys knew each other very well.
Of course.
But same with Psych. I did Psych. And so it's hard to find your rhythm sometimes when you're in there for a couple hours and you're with people who know each other so well. But my episode of Psych, I actually got to work with Malcolm McDowell, which was crazy.
Awesome.
Yes.
And get a scene with him and
That's
lines with
awesome.
him, and it was incredible. And again, that was within my first couple years. It wasn't my first TV booking, but it was yeah, that was a pretty amazing
That's
experience.
awesome.
Fringe, I loved. It was very cool shooting that. We were doing this. It was in a big art gallery in downtown Vancouver. My part got cut entirely though, so that was a lesson. And I told all my friends and family that was the first TV gig I got when I moved to Vancouver, and told everybody I knew back home, and then sat there watching it, and then the credits rolled, and I'm like, oh.
Oh,
So that was a lesson. Um, One experience I was thinking about for this was, do you guys know Project Blue Book on a History Channel? It's a show
uh,
about kind of it's like a government project
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
the
Okay.
50s about
Yeah.
aliens. There's a
Yeah.
really great show on History Channel. I think they're in
Okay.
their second or third season now, but that was a really cool experience.
Oh, that's great.
Kind of like um, a historical kind of thing, like set in the 50s. So I got to wear some cool costumes, and
Oh,
that
okay.
was rad.
Yeah.
Ever since I cut the cord, really, I haven't watched much History Channel. I got to be honest. So, but I will definitely check it out now.
Yeah, it's a great. I haven't seen beyond kind of the episode I was in, maybe one or two others, but by all accounts, it's a pretty awesome show. So I would
Hey,
recommend.
Nico, History Vault is $5 a month, buddy. You can't beat it. Just letting you know.
There
Oh
you go.
crap!
Add it to the list.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Oh
I
no,
forgot I
that's
set an alarm.
oh sorry. I so you had hold on. So you have anything you'd like to share from your experience on the Twilight Zone? I know you had an appearance there or an episode that you filmed.
Yeah, I actually ended up being in two episodes. I was on this last season as well, just playing
Okay.
a reporter. It was the most nervous I've ever been on set, for sure. And it was the smallest part. It was like a newscaster, essentially. So I had a block of text, but they changed the script that day. And it was just one of those situations where, like, so they're shooting in a big studio space, huge lot, and multiple sets all around the room and stuff, and they're shooting something else. It was just like fly by the seat of your pants. I think I was on set for about 20 minutes, and I think we shot it 3 times. All the lights are on me behind this desk. There's probably 150 people behind the camera. Like, it was the biggest production I've seen, and there just was so much pressure to not make a mistake.
Right.
And I was okay, but I feel like I could like hear my heart beating in my throat. But it was just terrifying. But then they used it so little in the episode I was in that I got essentially paid again for not doing anything else to use that footage in another episode. So that's how small the part was.
Still a cool experience to say you were on the Twilight Zone. I'll say that. That's something they can't
Oh
take
yeah,
away from.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Totally.
wasn't long after that you got what appears to be your first major recurring role in a series project, MC Squared. You could talk a little bit about that. The difference between doing TV and doing movies.
Yeah, so I for sure am doing far more TV than movies. I think just by virtue of what shoots more in Vancouver. But yeah, Project MC Squared was awesome. It's a kids show. It's for teenage girls. It's on Netflix. But I got to be a villain for an entire season. I was kind of this season villain, which is always really cool to play. And that's ended up being a bit of my niche. I'm finding I go for a lot of villains right now. But it was awesome. It's cool having a character written for you. You know, you get cast in this role originally, and then at a certain point, it feels like the writers, especially with You, Me, Her, the last show I did, the writers kind of start to gear their writing towards you as an actor, and you kind of become a bit more of the character, so you get to kind of embody it. Project MC Squared was cool because they, I believe we shot it episode by episode, if I'm not mistaken. So we were getting scripts every week. So I was always kind of like interested how this is going to progress and get to see what scenes you get to do and who you get to work with. And in that show in particular, I was a good guy for 4 episodes before there was this like big reveal that I'm kind of the one behind everything. So I got this pretty cool like emerging from the shadows moment, and it was neat. It was a really cool experience and really fun too. Like it was working with teenagers, but they were all really awesome and super talented, and yeah, I'm really proud of that show for what it is. I'm very proud of that show.
You mentioned You, Me, Her. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience? On that show.
Yeah. So speaking of Are You Afraid of the Dark? So one of the leads in that show is Kristen from the Midnight Society, like the original cast, Kristen.
Right.
Which once again, I went through every episode I posted and was like, what? And I took down 2 episodes. Not because I said anything disparaging about her, but I was like, now this becomes real because all these shitty things I said, I'm like, now there's a face to it and I'm working with you. So I promised myself I wouldn't bring it up. And within the first 5 minutes of meeting her, I was like, so I have this YouTube channel. Anyways, it's pretty, I am so proud of that show. I got to, again, I play, I mean, it's a bit of like a rom-com, so there aren't really villains.
Right.
But if there is a villain, I think it was me on the show. I play their neighbor. I try and get them kicked out of their neighborhood. But it was, yeah, besides Tucker and Dale, kind of the highlight of my career. It's, I got to know the show creator pretty well, got to work with a couple of really awesome directors. The cast was just incredible, and the writing is really sharp and really funny. It just makes the job easy, right?
Right.
And it was one of those things where, like, so I think I did 6 or 7 episodes in the 4th season of that show, and then none of us knew. We knew it was renewed for a 5th season, but, like, as a supporting character, you're never sure if they're going to bring you back. And then to find out you're being brought back, and I think I did 9 episodes in season 5, and then you get this whole other story arc and storyline, and again, it's all just an ego boost at the end of the day. But like, it feels good to know that you're trusted with this character and that they want you back and they want you to be in more stuff. And like Tucker and Dale, this You, Me, Her has a pretty niche following. It was on a kind of more obscure network in the States. But the fans of it are really loyal fans of it, so it was cool to kind of become a part of that family.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Absolutely. Hey, Nico, before you go
ahead.
He mentioned his YouTube channel and having to kind of like face the people he critiqued. We've experienced that on this show too, so we get it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I've taken down a couple only because they haven't aged well. You know, like comedy, you say some stuff that later you're like, we evolve as people, and there's things I said when I was 20 that I wouldn't say now that I'm 34, right? So and it exists forever on the internet. So I'm always kind of monitoring what I've said, and I don't really do them anymore because I know a lot of the people. Now I'll watch the episodes and be like, oh God, I auditioned against that guy and he has a better career than I do. So like, who am I to be an asshole to these people?
Yeah, and like you just said, one thing that, you know, kind of bothers me is like, it seems like on the internet, if you said something, you know, like you said 14 years ago, like even if you regret it now or would take it back, you're still held guilty forever. It seems like I don't like that. It's like people are allowed to grow and evolve and, you know, say, I probably shouldn't have said that, but I've grown. It just seems like you can't. It seems like there's no such thing as forgiveness or anymore, and it kind of bothers me. But
yeah,
I totally understand where you're coming from.
I agree. I kind of always say that like anything I have on there right now, I think I could defend. If someone were offended by it, I'd have the conversation. And if they revealed something I didn't even think about, then I'd just take it down.
Right.
But you can't change what you put out there. All you can do is be responsible for it and take ownership of it and evolve past it. It's the people like, what's his name? God, short, loud comedian. Got in trouble a little while ago. I'm not going to remember. But, you know, there's all these scandals now. Like every week something comes up and someone finds a tweet from 2012 of something insensitive. And it's more about how they handle it in that moment, right? Yeah, if you double down, that's a problem. But I think if you address it genuinely, you show remorse and you move past it, then I think everybody has the capacity to change and evolve, right? Absolutely. I hope I do.
Yes. Yes, sir. Absolutely. You already kind of touched on this, but we're just going to ask you one more time about Supernatural. It's such a well-known, established brand with horror alumni everywhere in it. Can you just talk a little bit about that more with us?
Yeah, so what's wild about that experience is Supernatural, I think, was one of the first couple auditions I went out for when I moved to Vancouver in 2009. And it was to play a demon, like a series villain kind of demon. The part was way too big for me and what I was ready for, and I bombed it. I did so badly. I was over the top, and I just felt terrible, like to the point that I called my agent after and was like, I don't know if I should be doing this because that was a nightmare. And the casting directors never saw me again for a couple years. But they still cast Supernatural. So last, whatever it was, right before the pandemic, I got a call for season 15 of Supernatural to play a demon. It was like this full circle moment, and I'd learned a lot in a decade. So I came back and wasn't trying to play the demon I've seen on TV. I play the demon I am, which is the sarcastic, kind of over the top, removed, goofy kind of villain guy that I've been playing now for a decade. and it worked really well. And the director and I really, really got along. And to the point that I actually was shooting a show on NBC called Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist at the time, and it was a conflict. So they weren't going to cast me because I literally was on set for another show that day. But they managed to negotiate. So I was shooting this like musical comedy on NBC in the morning for about 10 hours. And then I shipped out to the middle of nowhere, freezing cold in a field at a crossroads with all this fake smoke and stuff to play this demon in the same day, which is like, will go down as a very unique thing in my career. I'll never be that busy, but it was awesome. I love the scene. And it was really like 2 scenes in the entire episode, but I am super proud of how it turned out.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. Hey, we only have one more question, on the script, but man, I'm having a good time talking to you. If you don't mind, we're just gonna have some fun. If you don't mind, one question we like to ask a lot of our, previous guests, and I don't know if you've done much conventions or whatever, but what's the weirdest or funniest experience you've ever had with a fan or fan interaction?
Oh,
there has to be somebody from Tucker versus Dale out there somewhere.
We've had some doozies on this.
You know what though? The thing is, Tucker and Dale, I'm still waiting for it to get to the cult status where I can do Comic-Cons or something, because I would love nothing more. I did DC's Legends of Tomorrow, which is like a huge Comic-Con favorite, and but I was such a minor character, there's no way I could go. So I've never done a Comic-Con before. So my fan interactions are pretty limited. Again, because I right now, actually, pandemic and such, I'm teaching at a school nearby, teaching like an acting school, teaching audition and stuff. And one of my classes are 15 to 17-year-olds. And without a doubt, I've taught two terms now, and both times, the second I walk in, I see them trying to figure out where they know me from, and it's always Project MC Squared. And it's like, the fans are awesome, but I also played the worst person in the world on that show. So I can see they're trying to adjust, like, right, okay. We need to be on board with this guy now that we've disliked immensely for probably 4 years. Right.
Well, I see you're wearing a Camp Crystal Lake shirt. Me and you were talking about before we started. You told me you're a big horror movie fan. Like, what were some of your favorite horror movies growing up? My first one I ever saw was Jason Lives. Mike is a huge 1978 Halloween fan. What were some of your favorites, man?
I grew up in the Blockbuster era of renting 5 VHSs for $5, and I would troll the horror section. So a lot of my early introduction to horror was the really schlocky Chucky, Child's Play, Doll Man versus the Demonic Toys, these B movies.
The coolest cover art.
When cover art, right? Do you know that though? Right. Oh, for all those movies, yeah.
Right, yeah. Anything that had the cool cover art, it didn't matter what it said. Always go pick.
I'm totally with you.
Right.
The best. Yeah. Right. Actually, the Child's Play franchise gets weird. Some of those later movies are bananas.
Yes, they do.
But my heyday of horror was and the most formative for me, I think, was when I was in kind of middle school, high school. So that was the slasher era of Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. So I'm very fond of the Scream movies. But I for sure have a huge affinity for the classic horror franchises. I love Friday the 13th. I do love the original Halloween. If I had to pick a favorite classic horror movie, it has to be the original Halloween, I think. But I think I like Friday the 13th more as a franchise.
That's fair.
Because Halloween goes off the rails. I rewatched it recently. The cult stuff is bonkers. The Paul Rudd part of that is insane. But I am a huge fan of Season of the Witch too, so I'm all
I love Paul Rudd, but I don't like that movie at all.
It's not very good.
There's 2 movies in a row with the child bearing. It's the strangest. But the new one was incredible.
Yeah, the new one is fantastic.
Love the new one. The new one's personally
very
my
excited
favorite,
for Halloween Kills.
Oh yeah.
I am as well.
That was the worst part of COVID, was just Halloween Kills getting delayed. The Conjuring 3 getting delayed. My heart was broken because I love The Conjuring too. It's one of my favorites.
Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I heard I heard Halloween Kills is being not delayed again, but they're resigned to just releasing it digitally now.
Well, that'd be great if they would just do that yesterday.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, just do it now.
I've been tracking it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, heck, man, I just like talking about horror movies now. You got any? And by the way, Chucky terrified me when I was a kid. So I'm over it now. But there's nothing that scared me more than seeing that little dog guy walking on TV.
I remember I remember a scene in, it's got to be Child's Play like 5, where he replaces the paintball bullets in paintball guns with real bullets at a summer camp, and all the
Yeah,
kids
that's
just start
3.
shooting
That's
each
3.
other.
3.
In
Yeah.
retrospect, it is 3.
Yeah,
In
it's 3.
retrospect, makes zero sense gun wise, but like as a kid, I think I've played paintball once in my life because of that movie.
That's fair. That is very, very
And
fair.
like you just said right there, I don't think anybody who's seen Final Destination 2 will ride behind a log truck. There ain't no way.
Nope, don't
No.
like that either.
Hey,
Nope.
so you guys piece together Tucker and Dale has 2 Final Destination alumni in it. Final Destination 3, I think. What's the one with the roller coaster?
I believe it's 3.
Yeah, it's
Not-
3.
Yeah,
2 was the
so
log truck. 3.
Shalane Simmons,
Okay.
who died in the tanning bed, and Jesse Moss are both in that.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're leads
Yep.
in Tucker and Dale. So, and that was
Yeah,
shot here at P&E, which is like an amusement park near us.
Oh, okay.
Those Final Destination movies got wonky too, like you would say. But they were always so fun to watch. Like it's like, man, death is creative in this movie.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
I had something else I was gonna say, but I didn't lost it. I just love talking about horror, and it's fun to talk to a guest who obviously loves it like we do. That's awesome, man. Do you have any other projects coming up that you'd like to plug, or you want to shout out your social medias or anything?
I have a couple. I was lucky enough in the past few months, kind of late 2020, to get into a couple movies, but none of them have been announced yet, so I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
Okay.
I did a Lifetime movie right before the pandemic, where again I got to play kind of a bit of a villain. It's called Sleeping with Danger, and it was on Lifetime.
That's got to be fun.
It is what it sounds
Right.
like. It was a blast, it was
Right.
a blast, and the cast was incredible. There's a lot of that in Vancouver, a lot of the kind of movie of the week stuff, but it was cool. I was happy with how it turned out. But most of my stuff right now is voiceover stuff, and it's kind of all over the place. It's nothing that I can really like steer anybody towards. But I will say, if there's a way to track down Yumi Her, that's the project I would love to get more eyes on, because it had a 5-season order. It ended because they wanted to end it. It wasn't canceled or anything. But it's as soon as we shot the last season, the network went defunct. So there was no means to air it. So there were previous deals with Netflix and stuff, but it wasn't released in the United States. It was on HBO in Canada, but it wasn't released in the US, and I still think it's not in the US. So if you can find a way to track it down by legal means, of course,
I was going to
I would
say
love that.
legally.
Yeah, legally.
Yeah.
Adam, I just want to thank you for your time, man. This has been a blast talking to you. We really appreciate your time, man. So yeah, thank you for coming on. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thanks for reviewing the movie. Again,
Absolutely.
it's like endlessly. I just love the fact that this movie keeps on trucking, and people still appreciate it to this day.
It's not going anywhere. The love for that movie is not going anywhere. I think it gains more momentum every year.
I do too.
Hope so.
If you want to tell everyone where they can find you on social media or anything like that.
Sure. I mean, if you want to see any of my famed Are You Afraid of the Dark reviews, my name on YouTube is Beauch87. So that's BEAUCH 87. And be kind. Again, it's been years. And everything else in my name. So if you just look up my name on Instagram and all that stuff, I'm there.
You may hit a new following with that though, because all of those Are You Afraid of the Darks are going to that Paramount Plus streaming service.
Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah, and actually,
know.
I've been collaborating. There's a guy who does much better and more reviews than I've done on Are You Afraid of the Dark, and he reached out to me a while ago, so we did a collaboration. And I have to watch the new one because I forgot there was a new season of that was released. So that's what I'm watching tonight, because we're going to review that pretty soon, I think.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome, man. I'll be checking it out. I remember that from my my elementary school, watching Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps. I remember watching both of them.
Oh yeah,
I think I me to death.
One of those books. Yeah,
me to death.
But we're gonna let you go now, man. We really appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adam.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. All right. Do you want to go ahead and do that intro real quick, and we'll let you go? Just say my name is Adam Beauchesne from Tucker and Dale, and you, me, her, however you want to, list off whatever you want to, and then just say you're listening to the Don't Go Out There horror podcast.
Sure. The Don't Go Out There horror podcast?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Sure. Hey, this is Adam Beauchesne. You might know me as Mitch from Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, and you are listening to the Don't Go Out There Horror Podcast.
That's how silky smooth that
The
was.
silkiest voice I've ever heard on the show.
I've
serious.
been listening to my own voice all day, man, recording an audiobook, so I'm warmed up.
You took my crown.